What is up, y'all? We're here for our Saturday night secret sermon. This is our Secret Teachings of Jesus series where we are delving into the Gnostic Gospels. So if you are into this video, you can go over to my channel where you will subscribe and you will look for the Secret Teachings of Jesus playlist where you will find over 100 other videos of similar content, mostly involving the Secret Book of James and the Gospel of Philip. So the Gospel of Philip here is like these isolated portions of text. It's less like the other Gospels and books of the Bible, and it's more like these passages that are cryptic, esoteric ideas that we meditate on, and they, like, the interpretation like reveals itself over time. And so these are references to themes and things that Jesus would talk about and things that Jesus would say. And the archaeologists and people that evaluate antiquity believe that it could be someone's notes, like the writer's notes from their notebook, or it could be intended to just be these isolated portions of text. Either way, I think that the text is so dense that it's best to just take these one at a time and really digest them. And it's so crazy because there are only a few lines, but every week we talk for like 45 minutes or so about them. So, and then some of them have multiple episodes, this being another one. So we are back this week, I think, finishing up with the things visible and hidden. This is part 3 of 3. We'll read the passage and then I'll kind of catch you up and do a little recap, and then we'll get into, I think, our final thoughts on the passage. But I just thought it was really interesting that in our manifestation oracle message, it kept saying the last couple of weeks, like, look out for synchronicities, look out for synchronicities. And the synchronicities that were standing out to me were the fact that so the way that I choose Secret Teachings of Jesus portions is I'll come in after work, I will open the text, and we've been in the Gospel of Philip. So I will kind of skim around until something starts speaking to me. And when I start getting downloads, that's when I start the camera and I begin. And I couldn't help but notice that, and another thing, the timeline is on Saturday night that I do these videos, usually around midnight. Well, the weekly portion at the Kabbalah Center, like the Kabbalah Center does the Zohar's commentary on the weekly Torah portions. And so every week there's a Torah portion assigned, and there's a Torah portion assigned reading for every day. And it's the same every year. It's like a 365-day cycle. And so the commentary from the Zohar is like the deepest interpretation of the Bible. It like looks at it as a spiritual encoding. And so I watched the daily Zohar videos from the Kabbalah Center, which I shared with you guys, some of them last week. And so they coincided perfectly with the passage which I picked out Saturday, and then the next day was the first day of the new week. And I'm watching this Zohar video and I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly like our passage from last night. Well, this happens a lot of times. The passage that we pick out for Secret Teachings of Jesus sets us up for the lessons that we will be working with for the week to come. So I think that's just wild, even though that's exactly what the universe is like. You know, it's like witches are always hackling because, we never get tired of synchronicities and magical moments. So it's just like, it's always such a surprise, even though it's like we totally expect the universe to act that way. So I'm going to read you the portion and then we'll unpack it line for line. And actually, I'm going to read you the portion, we'll do a synopsis, and then we'll go over this week's thoughts. And so it's good that we are studying late at night, because that's what the other sages and scribes and students and righteous people do, who are seeking out the mysteries and understanding and revelation within the scriptures. There's just a plethora of benefits, spiritually speaking, that are available around midnight and the late night hours when you study. One being that there's less energetic static around, because most people are asleep. And so everybody's auras and their thoughts and their feelings, it's just making this like low level rowdiness, this like background white noise in our energy field. And so it prevents us from fully receiving like downloads and revelation as clearly as we could without the interruption and interference. And so at night, people are at rest, and so the airways are quieter. So it helps us get a better, clearer connection. And also it's protective to study at late at night, because when we're asleep, our soul leaves our body. And so most of our surrounding light that protects us is left our body at night. And so when we study late at night, we are surrounded by the surrounded light, which protects us. And it also allows for more of the revelation of the insight and wisdom to come through, protected from having to earn that through a process. Because we are already putting ourselves in a bit of discomfort by staying up late and pushing against our body consciousness, that's like a form of self-sacrifice that earns the wisdom. Whereas if we, a lot of times when we read self-help or read spiritual wisdom, it's like we have to go through a process to embody that lesson, to like live it and put it into practice, which is not always convenient or pleasant. But pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, staying up late and doing it at this hour is an act of self-sacrifice and sacrificing the flesh consciousness, which sometimes alleviates the need for a process. So just a little bit about studying late at night. And I just have always wanted to read the Lost Gospels and Dead Sea Scrolls. And this is the Nag Hammadi scriptures that were, the codex is found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. All right. So from the Gospel of Philip, this is Things Visible and Hidden, Part 3. At present, we encounter the visible things of creation, and we say that they are mighty and worthy, and the hidden things are weak and insignificant. It is not so with the visible things of truth. They are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. So this passage is pointing out that we get really hung up on the material world, on the physical, on things we can see, feel, hear, touch. And that's what we put our confidence and our faith in a lot of times, because we're reasonable, rational people. But really, the spiritual essence and truth behind the thing that we see is really the more powerful, the more relevant, the more reliable, the more truer truth. And so we've been looking at that concept through different angles and lenses for the past couple of weeks. Week 1, we were understanding that we see life and we go through life and we think it's the physical world is what it's all about. And then it's like, well, what's the spiritual lesson we're learning? And so we think that the physical world is the cause and like the spiritual lesson is the effect, but it's the other way around. The spiritual world comes first, and the spiritual world has to be revealed through the physical by wearing physical clothing. So anything then in the spirit realm that wants to be expressed has to become physicalized in the material world in order to be revealed and expressed and realized. So the foundation is really the unseen, the spiritual. That realm is the reality. That realm makes up 99% of reality, whereas the material world is only like 1%. In fact, let me show you a chart and you'll see visually. As far as our neighborhood of existence, this is a map of our existence. And so, the upper realms, the unseen realms, are this, this whole thing. This is existence. This is the unseen, plus the mysteries up here of the 3 negative veils of unmanifest. This down here is the material reality of the multiverse that we know and we see, feel, taste, touch, smell. So this is the multiverse down here, material realm, physicality, and the rest of the functioning of the realms and the mysteries and the kingdoms and the aeons is all of this. So this is what we call the 99%, the upper realms, the unseen, the spiritual, and then the 1% is the material realm. So we see that the unseen is actually much more powerful, much more important, much more relevant, and it's also the cause that created the need for the physical, the function of the physical, the purpose of the physical. So let me connect with thoughts that I wanted to share. So it's like, okay, so when we're waking people, walking through life in the waking world, in the waking reality, in the physical world. And when we go to sleep at night, we have dreams, right? We get this feeling the dreams take place somewhere, but they're not physical, right? We understand that the dreams aren't physically happening. So they feel real. They feel like we're in a movie, but it feels imaginary because we can't see, or like we can't touch anything. We can see things, but we can't really feel anything in our dreams a lot of times. So it's like this other world, and actually dreams occur in the next dimension over, which is this non-physical here, but this is the astral realm, and this is where the dream world happens. So at night, when our physical bodies are sleeping and we're having dreams and we're having these dramas and theatrical scenes play out in our dreams, we get up in the morning and we're like, oh, wow, that must be a reflection on my waking life and how I feel about things. So I need to get out my dream interpreter and interpret my dream, which I love dreammoods.com. So the dream, we understand, is symbolic, and it's telling me, it's like commentary on my physical world, right? So we understand that. Now take that same truth and mirror it in the fact that the spiritual world is the reality, the non-physical, the unseen. And then we, the physical world, are actually like a dream. The spirit world, the soul, is like having a dream of this physical life. So the physical life ends, the dream ends, and then the soul's still there. So it's like the soul wakes up and it's like, oh, the physical is over, but like I'm still here. I'm still intact. I have like a seamless, streamlined consciousness that continues on. So it's like we are the dream, and what we dream is actually the reality, probably. And so this world, if we're understanding that we are like a waking dream, then the experiences that occur in our life, we can start to interpret them and get insight about them and notice when it feels like the universe is like cracking a little joke or making a pun with us, or playing with us a little bit, or like giving us an assignment, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of see how this world is like you can start understanding the simulation better. Okay, the simulation is showing me this experience, and it's trying to tell me something in this. So what, like, and you start decoding your life. So life, we talk about it a lot being like a game, right? And not everybody is awake in the game. Not everybody's an active player yet. Some people are non-playable characters. But once you become active and awakened within the game, it's like, oh, I'm an active player. Oh, okay. And so we slowly start to learn the terrain and the level that we're at, and the playing field, right? The plane that we're on, and the rules of how things govern in those planes and dimensions and levels that we're in. And so, okay, we're like, okay, I'm starting to understand the rules of the realm here, and now I'm starting to understand my opponent in ways that the opponent challenges me and sends things. And so now I'm even understanding like where to expect it, and like how to like anticipate that coming, and how to identify it. Starting to understand how I have reflexive responses, that part of like earning points in my game and becoming bigger Mario and more powerful Mario is overcoming like my defects and bugs and flaws and shortcomings. Okay. And then like also squashing my opponent. Okay. Transcending things, and you're just like awakening and so it's like this game. But the more that we're awakened, and the more we start to perceive and understand the game, or life as a game, then the better we become at playing it and being within it, and understanding that everything in this life is happening to awaken and elevate and evolve my soul, and correct my soul for the negativity that it has, to purge the impurities and the defilements that make me afraid and make me feel insecure and lacking. And then when my consciousness is fully purified, I'm like, that's when we're back where we remember our full connection to the Creator. We remember that this isn't the real reality. It's only temporary, and there's nothing to really it's like we say, there's nothing to really fear. But like, what if you knew that like all of your spiritual support teams and family and friends were all around you right before the physicalization, and they were like, it's okay. Like once you get there, you're going to forget us. You're not going to know we're here. We're going to be invisible, but we're here the whole time, and you're going to be okay no matter what. Like, no matter what happens, like, you're just going to, whatever happens, you're going to wake up and you'll be here. You'll be back with us, and everything will be okay. It's eternal here, so you're going to a dream. You're going to a simulation. It's going to be scary. It's going to be hard. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like everything's at stake, but you're not alone, and it's not, and you're going to be fine. Even in the worst case scenario on Earth, if you you're gonna be right back here, right? So everything will be great in the end, right? So understanding that what we can see, feel, touch, it doesn't end there. There's something more going on behind the scenes. Life is always teaching us and communicating with us and showing us and guiding us and helping us awaken, and helping us awaken that most fulfilling self within, the most authentic self within. So that was what we kind of took away from our first round with this, is a new way to perceive life, that the intrinsic catalysts and motivators and truths were the real reality driving the physical projection and manifestation of the projection that we're seeing, right? The matrix is organically changing to fit our needs as the player in the game, right? To maintain its difficulty level with our growth level, okay? Now, the second week, last week, we focused on the angle and perspective that, so we'll read the passage again and then we'll come into the second idea. At present, we encounter the visible things of creation, and we say that they are mighty and worthy, and that the hidden things are weak and insignificant. But it is not so with the visible things of truth. They are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. And so remember, you can go back and watch these videos and get the in-depth discussions, but this is just very quickly, we're skimming over it. The second week, we focused on the fact that the portion, the Torah portions for the week were focused on the revelation to people that the commentary was that only a fool looks at the Torah and sees the garments. Or sorry, it says the fool looks at a person and sees their garments and takes them at face value and stops there and goes no further. So it's just like they look at the surface and they see what's on the surface, and then they think that's just, there's nothing more to it. They don't look any deeper in. And it says, so too is a fool who looks at the Torah and sees the garments of the Torah and doesn't look any further and never sees the soul of the Torah. And the point of it is that the garments of the Torah are the stories of the Torah. There are the parables and the history stories and the like all the characters and what's going on. That's the clothing, right? The spiritual wisdom of the Torah, it has to be given to us with physical clothes on so we can comprehend and understand it. But we get hung up and obsessed about the physical, and we stop there, and we don't understand that that's not really the point. The point is deeper than the physical story. There's a deeper spiritual truth underneath the story. The story is like a code. And the people and the places and the things that are mentioned in these passages, sometimes you're like, there's 4 lines. Why are they even bothering to bring this detail up? That's so weird. Or why is the Bible telling me something about this? Like, why is it, and it just doesn't seem like of all things, why would we be focusing on this? It's because it's a symbolic code. It's not what it seems on face value. But look at the problems in the world today. Religious people, it's very dangerous because they take everything at the material level, and then not only do some people skew it to, cherry pick and use things to support their agendas, they're misinterpreting it. And then other people who aren't educated enough to know that they are supposed to be looking deeper than the garments of the Torah, then they're just like, why does this? They're either appalled by the whole religion and they're like, it's barbaric, I don't understand it at all. Or they totally buy in, and then they let everybody tell them what it means, but then they're all wrong, and then they get violent and prejudiced and bigoted, and this is how religious people become completely dogmatic. This is what the problem was with the Pharisees when Jesus was like sitting, here giving his message. Jesus was trying to give the message that was the soul of the Torah, not the garments of the Torah. And the Pharisees were obsessed about all of the material details, and they were obsessed with Jesus breaking like purity laws and not doing things at certain times, like don't do this on Shabbat and all this stuff. And they were obsessed. They were just basically running. They were like the religious cops. They weren't even nurturing people's soul. They weren't having consciousness. They weren't having insight and aha moments. They weren't preaching with anointing and understanding. They were just like going through the motions. They were religious, but they weren't like enlightened, or at least most of them weren't. and their heart wasn't in it. They weren't caring for the people. And so this wasn't the whole temple, but it was like the trend and the focus of the majority, right? And then it become very political and all of this. And so Jesus said, you're missing the whole point here. You're caught in the material, but you're not seeing the most important things underneath, which are the mysteries of the Torah and the true meanings and the symbolic messages that teach you how to awaken your soul and transcend your flesh consciousness. So then we learned, okay, the Torah is very specific. It lays it out. It's like, look, if you're interpreting the Torah at face value and you're not going any further than that, and it says you may as well draw your last breath. And look around today at the extreme situations that we're in, people getting killed all over the world for the ways that that people have interpreted religious texts. And they've interpreted it in such literal ways. Even the book of Revelations, when people are obsessed over the apocalypse, yes, there could be an actual apocalypse that plays out in a literal living Armageddon, but I do believe that every generation sees their own version of it. And it was never intended to be interpreted literally. This was like symbolic poetry and visions of like in dreams that have to be interpreted symbolically, right? So I think that there's an archetypal nature about the book of Revelations that plays out for every generation. But there might be like a final, end of days, but we don't know when that's going to be. So, but people get obsessed over that too. And so they get really material and dogmatic and religious and pious, and they want everybody else to like behave the way that they think that they should. And so it gets really murky in that way. And now the third way that we're going to look at this today is about, so we've looked at this and we're like, okay, we see through the surface of life and we can see beyond what seems to be on the surface level, what's happening of life. There's a deeper meaning of life. Life is always communicating to me and trying to reveal things to my soul. There's a deeper Bible than the Bible that we're reading in the stories. There's a deeper meaning underneath these stories that need to be interpreted symbolically. And there's a coded language and there's a coded meaning behind these stories. And it's not just the surface level, right? Now we're looking at it in terms of when I go out into the world and I'm looking for solutions or provisions, this is about not worshiping idols. So what happens is we get really caught up on the vessel, but what we're really looking for is the light. The light is channeled through vessels. Like we were saying, for a spiritual, for something in the non-physical, the metaphysical to be made real, to be made true, it has to become physicalized, right? So we get obsessed over the physical world. And so we always look for these spirit or physical answers for things. Like for instance, if we are sick, then we go to all these doctors and specialists to try to find the remedy, right? Well, how many times have you heard about a person is in a situation, or how many times have you been in a situation where even though you keep going and getting tests run and you keep going to these different doctors, it's like you can't find anything specific that's actually wrong. It's like there's this weird unnameable affliction, and like you can't find the remedy, or you can't find the cure, you can't find the healing approach or the medical approach to like how you need to resolve this health issue, right? So what do? We get more obsessed about finding, okay, well, maybe I need to go holistic. Maybe I need to get this or that. But it's always about this like physical treatment that we're looking for. When in many cases, that affliction is there and it's a manifestation of some negativity or something that needs to be healed, or maybe the Creator's trying to get our attention about something. And we won't find the cure until we get that lesson, until that cure has been earned. It's like when we were talking about also last week, like how sometimes we're looking for the answer to a question, and it's like the answer will only come like right after we earn it, or right after we earn the answer. It's like we've had some kind of turnaround or breakthrough, and we've changed our behavior in some way, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's the answer. Same with like this health issue, for instance, as an example. And so then, like, say you've exhausted all your physical options, and then you're like, okay, well, I can't figure out what it is, so we can't figure out how to treat this. And so then maybe you start doing some spiritual work. And you start going deep into the inner work and healing yourself, or doing some forgiveness work, or maybe you've been doing evil tongue and you're trying to stop talking about people so much. You're trying to stop gossip. You're trying to stop evil eye and like stop coveting or whatever. But you're really working hard on an issue. And then all of a sudden it's like you're starting to make progress on that issue. And out of nowhere, the ailment starts to heal. Right? Maybe it's just when we have something like that, the cure sometimes is a spiritual cure and not a physical cure. So this is what we're talking about, not worshiping idols, because we think that it's the medicine that's healing us, but it's not. It's God that's healing us. It's just that the medicine is the vessel, and we go through the motions to get that, but the real healing is from God. Another synchronicity happened this week. That's why I decided to go on and talk about this for a third week. But the Kabbalah class that I just signed up for, a lot of times, like, I'll sign up for them and I'll get behind and I'll watch the recordings. And so I'm not always in sync with when they're fresh. But this particular Kabbalah class, like I'm on time. This is the first week that the class started. And so this was like a fresh recording that I listened to. And so it was from this week, and it was talking about not worshiping idols, not looking at the physical thing and thinking that the power is in the physical thing, but understanding that it's just God's energy moving through the physical thing. So here is a verse from the class, from the Zohar, that I'm going to read you. When I came and recounted those things to Rabbi Shimon, he said, surely that was a wise man. For observe that there is no grass or herb that grows on earth in which much wisdom and great power in heaven is not manifested. Come and observe this from the hyssop. For whatever the Holy One, blessed be he, desires that men purify themselves, they have to do it through the hyssop. What is this reason? To arouse that power above that is appointed over. For when it is aroused, it exterminates the spirit of impurity, and the defiled person is cleansed. And to you I say, blessed be the merciful one who delivered you. So my teacher went further into talking about that today, and he was like, it's like they're saying, yes, when you are doing a purification ritual, you use hyssop. So it's not like, it's like when we use sage. We know that that's what sage is for. It's just saying every grass, every herb has a purpose and a power and a wisdom within it, each unique to its kind. But it's not the plant that's powerful. It's just that when we use that plant, it sends a cue, like a smoke signal, up to the spirit that reigns and organizes this job that it does. And it signals to the spirit, okay, I would like for you to get rid of my impurity. And so if you burn hyssop, then it arouses the spirit that does this job, and then it's like activated and assigned, or like requested. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's initiated into purging your impurity. And it's so funny because there was I picked some hyssop on my jog like a few months ago, and I remember like breathing it in and like really taking deep breaths while I was jogging, as it was like the aromas were breaking open in my hand and the oils. And I was just thinking like, oh, this is going to be so purifying and cleansing to my aura. But then it actually unleashed like this plague of ailments and afflictions and things that had to work their way out and exercise themselves. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I know that this is some sort of negativity coming out of me that I am burning off in these ailments and afflictions, but I'm just going to have to let them run their course because they're doing their thing. But I believe it was initiated by smelling that hyssop on my jogs like a few times in a row. So I don't know if y'all have ever worked with the stone shungite, but same effect. It's like, it's very cleansing. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you might bring shungite home and end up like moving or something. Like, it's crazy. And it's not the stone, it's just itself, but the stone is like an antenna that is meant to channel that energy through. So we'll read that again. So let's see. He said, surely that was a wise man, for observe that there is no grass or herb that grows on the earth in which much wisdom and great power in heaven is not manifested. Come and observe this from the hyssop. For whenever the Holy One, blessed be he, desires that men purify themselves, they have to do it by the hyssop. What is the reason? To arouse that power above that is appointed over it. So there's a power above the hyssop. The power of God is manifest, and it works through the hyssop to activate the hyssop. But it knows that because you're using the hyssop, this is the specific reason for the hyssop, right? So it activates a specific process. So what is the reason? To arouse that power above that is appointed over. For when it is aroused, it exterminates the spirit of impurity, and the defiled person is cleansed. And to you I say, blessed be the merciful one who delivers you. And so the merciful one who delivers you is not the hyssop, but it is the creator who put that life force, who put that intelligence within the hyssop, right? So we see that, okay, so Abraham, the patriarch, Father Abraham, the father of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, he revealed he revealed astrology to the world. And he also had a father who, during those times, people did not worship only one God. Abraham was the first one to say there's one God and one God only. He was the first one to introduce monotheism. Before that, it was polytheism. And so the people could not comprehend the abstract truth and reality of God that is all-encompassing and yet has no physicality, because God is beyond a definable engraven image. There's no physicalization of God. There's no way to imagine a shape or a representation. God is beyond our comprehension. But the people of that time, and even people now, they can't accept that abstract formlessness of God. And so they want to put a graven image on God. So, okay, well, I can see the sun, and I see that the sun is nurturing me and giving me life force and vitality. So I'm going to worship the sun, and I'm going to worship the rain, and I'm going to worship the earth and the trees and the stones and the, animals and whatnot. And so people, the pagan religions and the Celtic religions, all of those that had multiple gods, Egyptian, right, Greek, they were worshiping a physicalized idol of something. Even like my teacher David was pointing out, that your anger can be an idol because it represents an attachment you had to a specific expression of something that wasn't met. So putting, we put our emphasis, we say that the outer things are mighty and worthy. And so like we put our confidence in the medicine, we put our confidence in money or in our job that brings us money. We talk about that before, where it's like the job is not my source. The creator is my source. And so everybody, even like the people we date, right? We love the energy we get from them. We love the attention and the emotion that we exchange. Well, when we put all the focus on that person being the source of that energy, then it starts to put this weight on the relationship, because what we really need to see is that it's not the person. They are the vessel that has showed up to express this light that God wants to share with us. So it's always God appearing or sending that God's light and love to us in the form that we need it in that moment. And so knowing that, it gives you the ability to walk away from the wrong relationship, right? Because you're not obsessed over, is this the one? Is this really? It's like, you're obsessing over, you're idolizing over a person at that point, and not understanding that you're connecting with their soul, which is an expression of the light of the creator. And so the creator is really your source, and you connect directly to the creator. And so that's where you're getting your real light from and your real satisfaction. So then you understand, oh, I don't need an intermediary to connect to this feeling and to this sense of security and eternal flow. This person is wishy-washy, they can come and go, but I have a consistent, secure connection with source. And so then it's like you start needing that person less, and you realize that they're not the source of your security. And then that usually makes for a healthier relationship, because they're not suffocated by your neediness, and revolted by it. They don't feel the pressure of being your end all be all. And so same with like certain jobs or opportunities or things. It's like when you need something so bad, a lot of times that thing is held from you. And it's like when you don't need it that much, it doesn't own you anymore, then you're safe to have it. We put so much emphasis on the vessel, but we don't realize is that what we want is the light behind the vessel. Perfect example is drugs. You want to get high, you want to get high, you want to stay high, you want to get so high you never come back down. Drinking. Want to get drunk, want to have a good time, want to shake it loose. I want to cut loose, right? So you get a buzz off of drugs and alcohol, and you're borrowing that light. It's that high, that excitement, or the feeling of like confidence, or like relaxed and just feeling good. Like that's the light of the creator. It's just that we're taking that light without earning it in a healthier way. And so we're just grabbing at it, and we're taking it, we're binging on that light, and then we get a terrible hangover. And so we have this payback that costs us something. It costs us some chaos, right? But in that case, it's like we're putting our emphasis on the vessel. Oh, I want this vessel. But we don't realize is that what we really want, we're really craving, is the light that the vessel brings us. So we start to learn, okay, what's the real source of the light? Oh, okay, I'm just connecting with this light through these vessels. And so you're not putting all the glory on the vessel anymore. You're really seeing that all it is just a covering to shine the light through. So at present, we encounter the visible things of creation and we say that they are mighty and worthy and that the hidden things are weak and insignificant. But it is not so with the visible things of truth. They are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. And so back to that mystery ailment, right? You may have this weird thing that won't leave you alone, and it might be that the universe is trying to awaken you to something that you really need to change. Maybe you have a prejudice about something, or you're really angry about something, or you can't let something go. But something's really holding you back, right? And so you might have an illness manifest. And so instead of obsessing over the fact that the medicine is going to heal you, or that the doctor's going to heal you, know that the Creator is healing you. But there's some way that this thing is trying to serve you to see something in it. And so you almost don't want to jump out of the discomfort before it served you fully, because then you'll have to go through another process again. So it's like, really get what it's trying to tell you and look for it that way. It's like, I know someone right now who's having one of those fluke things, and you're like, what? And there's nothing wrong with them medically, but there's something afflicting them in a really irritating and difficult and exhausting way. And as an outsider looking in, knowing what I know about how the universe works, I'm like, I would start at this very big elephant in the room that has nothing to do with the physical affliction, but it's a spiritual issue. I'm like, I would start there. And then it's funny too, because this is the kind of person that would normally think that when it comes to someone else, right? So this is again, we get caught up in the material. We look for material solutions to spiritual problems, when 100% of the time the physical problem has a spiritual issue behind it. And even if we found the physical remedy and we were taking that physical remedy, it wouldn't work until the spiritual issue is resolved. Like, you're not allowed to be healed even with the medicine that will work until you resolve the spiritual issue, when it's that kind of connection. So every time, before you take your Flintstone vitamin, think about your spiritual supplements that you need to be working on. And maybe that will resolve the issue, and you won't even need a physical remedy at all, right? So putting the emphasis on understanding that all the money comes from the Creator. It's not your boss. It's not the raise you're going to get. It's not, and it's so funny because my teacher was also talking about how he kept being really resistant to starting a retirement account, because he gets more satisfaction when he sees interest gaining on like a high interest savings account or whatever. But it like took a while for his financial people to make him understand that if you have a retirement account, you're gaining interest, but you can also write it off on your taxes, which you can't for the high yield or whatever. So he was like, I was paying more money and making less money just by having the illusion, because I'm looking at it and I can see it, and it's like it makes me feel satisfied, but it's really, I'm lying to myself. I'm just taking comfort because I can see something and it's satisfying, but I'm cheating myself in the end because I'm not getting as much as if I went the way that would be less visible to me. Isn't that funny? So again, would we realize that the creator is the one making the way for things, that everything around us is just the portal that it comes through, right? Our job is the portal that it comes through. Our investments are just a portal where we can be blessed through. We're opening these portals, but really it's God sending us the sustenance. It's God sending us the manna every time. It's God giving us the job in the first place and making sure that the company is going well and that you get paid. And whatever you're, I love using serving as an example, because whatever I make that night, that was what the creator intended for me to make that night. And that's what I merited making that night. And what we understand from Rosh Hashanah is that our yearly income is decided on that day. And whatever happens in between that 365-day cycle, a good week here, a bad week there, it's all going to come out in the wash, and you're going to make the money that you were supposed to make that year regardless. And that was like so liberating to me, because I even looked at my like check stubs, and I've compared quarters and years, and no matter what business feels like at the restaurant, there's a certain average and a trajectory that I'm on. Like, it seems like no matter what the circumstances are. It's so funny. So that's so true. And that really liberated me, because I didn't have to obsess anymore over, oh, did I make enough this shift? Did I make enough that shift? It's like God knows what I'm going to make it every week. And God knows if I get, challenging tables or really easy, kind tables. And this is the perfect place to work off your karma and your tikkun and purge yourself of impurity and pay your spiritual taxes and your spiritual credit card off. And just knowing that, it's like, wow, okay, cool. I can do this the easy way, or I can do it the hard way. Right? I can suffer or not, So the spiritual is really the cause, right? And it's really the foundation and the source. And the material is just the expression of that cause. We're the effect of the cause. We are the manifestation of that cause. So all the physical things in the world that we think are our answers, they're just vessels. God is the answer, and he's bringing the cure, and he's bringing the sustenance, he's bringing the money, he's bringing the perfect business partner, he's bringing the perfect job offer, he's bringing the right romantic partner. It's not the vessel, it's the energy God is delivering through the vessels that he chooses, right? So at present, we encounter the visible things of creation, and we say that they are mighty and worthy, and the hidden things are weak and insignificant. It is not so with the visible things of truth. They are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. So remember, looking at the things that we want and the solutions that we go after, and when we think, this is going to solve it, right? Be careful not to slip into worshiping idols, thinking that the physical is the powerful thing that's going to save the day. right? Seeing the real power underneath the physical thing. The physical thing is just the vessel that it reveals itself through. All right, so things visible and hidden. At present, we encounter the visible things of creation and we say that they are mighty and worthy, and that the hidden things are weak and insignificant. It is not so. With the visible things of truth, they are weak and insignificant, but the hidden things are mighty and worthy. The hidden things are eternal, and the physical things have a shelf life, and they decay and they break down and they rot and they die. So the physical things are temporary. Everything has a shelf life here. But the non-physical things, the non-visible things, those are eternal. They're everlasting. All right, y'all, that is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow for our weekly energy oracle forecast, where we will be taking a look at the week ahead to see what kind of energy we will be living and moving and having our being in. Till then, peace.